Good.
Okay, I think we are live today. Welcome to Grow Forward with Hadas and Sarah. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Hadas. How are you doing today?
Okay, Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here with you, and I'm looking forward to today. So last week, I just want to do a brief intro for our audience. If you were joining us last week, we went over building a vision board, and Hadas shared with us her vision board for 2023, and we built it, and then we gave everybody a link to the template on Canva that you can use to create your own vision board. But this week, we are going to be taking one of the items from the vision board, and then we're going to break it out into manageable size chunks, beginning with the first 90 days. So with that, I know we have a couple things to talk about before we start that, but I'm gonna, Hadas, is there anything you wanna say first before we get going?
No, I'm good. We're going to do exactly what you said we're going to do, and we'll have a lot to say about that. So let's start.
Okay, and then like I had mentioned last week, just some housekeeping. We do have the ability to see the chat from Facebook and YouTube. So if you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube and you want to join in the chat, I can see that come through. We can answer questions or whatever you might have. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we can get started. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
I see it great. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we are going to be, so this was the vision board we created last week. And we're going to be focusing on the New York Times bestseller, right? Or just writing a book in general?
No, let's focus on it is writing a book in general. I think, however, every author would like to either get on the Amazon bestseller or New York bestseller. And so we're going to talk about that because a lot of people do not understand the process of getting to that point or even publishing their own book.
Right.
So, as we well know, when we talk about, especially let's focus on authors and authors that are writing their own books, self-publishing their own books. Most authors, they publish their book, they get a few printed, they hand them to a few family and friends, and that's the extent of their influence. And so we're going to talk about that today because there is a whole lot more to preparing your book for a launch than just writing it.
It's just the start, right?
It's the start. However, even while you're writing it, there are a few more very important, aspects or tasks or parts to writing a book that need to be accomplished at the same time. So there we go.
Before we get started with the book, I wanted to touch on, so when we're looking at our roadmap, if you will, for the next year, I see on here there's some personal accomplishments, and then there's some professional accomplishments. And I just want to talk about that for a minute, and how important it is to integrate into our planning both.
Okay, that's really good. So we'll have a conversation about, but I want to point out some really important things. That there are real key areas when you are planning out your calendar. Now, as I said, we're going to be doing that And we're creating that for you. So as soon as we are ready to have that available to you, we will actually do that live. But when you're talking about creating your life, let's say creating your life in 2023, there are key areas that you want to plug into the calendar. The calendar is your bridge, or the vision board is your bridge. These components, these tools, and these techniques we're teaching you, these are bridges between what you're thinking, what you're desiring, and the actual accomplishment of it. So on your board, on your calendar, you want to be moving what? Your career forward. All right. You want to be moving your career forward. You want to be moving your assets forward. Okay. That's the things you want to acquire: material things, status, expertise, notoriety. All right. Going back to the career part, I apologize. It's not just career, but it also can be what you want to create. So it's your career. Do you want to create a product? Do you want to create a new morning structure, habits, a new business, a new legacy, non-for-profit? Okay. You want to start a cause, when we talk about career, we're talking about what your passion is. So you want to have that passion, that career. You want to have what you want to acquire on your vision board. You want to also have what you want to experience. So what do we have right now? We have create, which is known as your passion, your career. We have acquire, we have experience. What do you want to experience in relationships? What do you want to experience in life? All right. What do you want to experience in your health? And then we also have, what do you want to learn this year? So when we go back and look at this vision board and the question that Sarah posed, take a look at something. First, I have here what I want to create, right? For part of our career, our passion. That's the New York Best Times. That's the book. That's the 100,000 on the YouTube. That is moving the development of the system that we're working on forward. That is selling the 1 million block-it planners. These are the things that fall into the category of creation, of passion. And then what do I want to acquire? That's on there as well. Well, it looks like there's really only two things I want to acquire besides my Israeli citizenship and a car. There's my big acquires for the year. All right. Then we also have, what do I want to experience? Well, we have the experience of writing a book in Dubrovnik. We have the experience of going on the Rhapsody cruise outside of Haifa. All right. But what do we also want to experience in relationships? Because family and friends are very much, and building that community is very much a part of what you want as part of your really the putting together of your life, the lifestyle that you have, and what you're putting in your plan and what you're moving forward. So that's your family, your friends, your relationships. And on there is my father coming to Israel. So we have family, we have career, we have acquire, what we want to acquire, we have what we want to experience, right? All of that is sitting on this vision board. Now it's the top 10 of those. There's quite a few more. But when Sarah asked the question, you see that all of it becomes integrated. Everything becomes integrated. It's all part of the story that you want to write this year. And so you want to take all of these things, what your passion is, what you want to move forward, what you want to acquire, what you want to experience, and what you want to learn. Now, I don't have too much on there, if anything, of what I want to learn, but I will tell you that by looking at the vision board, there are two and actually 3 things, and they're all in almost the same category of what I need to learn. I need to learn how we can get 100,000 subscribers. I need to learn how I can become a New York bestseller. And I need to learn how to sell 1 million Block-It planners. So based on what you see, what your vision is, what you would like to accomplish, that often dictates what you want to learn. Plus, here we are, I want to lose 30 pounds this year. And of course, I can't tell you that I need to learn what to do because I wrote the course, Regenerate Me Now. I have also the book that's coming out. So I know what we need to do. I just look forward to building that community to do it. Okay, so Sarah, does that answer the question, or did that leave you with another question that you'd like to talk about?
It answered my question, and that would dovetail into this next segment, because what I find is in my own life, and I'm sure this will resonate with many in our audience, is that, for example, let's say, you have the Israeli citizenship on here. And if you're like me, if this was on my list, sometimes what we will do is we will put down our vision, this main thing we want to achieve, and then because we don't integrate it into our plan, into our life workflow, if you will, for me, it just goes by the wayside. And because I'm not building it into my day, I'm not creating the time for it. And so 2 months, 3 months, 4 months might go by and it's still on my vision board. I still haven't done anything with it. And I still want to accomplish it, but it's like I don't know how to fit it in, if that makes sense. And
Sure.
I had this aha, type moment, because the way that I used to plan before block time planning is I would just use a to-do list. Okay. And so I would have my projects that I was working on, and then I would have my to-do list. Well, if that one vision item wasn't on my to-do list, like I said, it wouldn't get done and it would just fall by the wayside. So I had a light bulb, like, duh, this has to get integrated into my daily projects if I want to move it forward, if it's one of my priority projects, or just incrementally every day, maybe 5-10 minutes, moving it forward at that pace if it's not like a huge priority. So I say all that to say that the system that we're teaching you is going to show you how to take everything all encompassing in your life and get it onto paper, get it into your schedule so that you can begin moving toward that end goal.
One of the most important things when this is a vision board. This is what you're keeping before you. So the things that you want to achieve in the year are in front of you every day. That's why you create a vision board. You don't create a vision board and then tuck it behind your bed, or you don't create a vision board and keep it online and never look at it. A vision board needs to be on your wall. It needs to be where you're going to see it every day. And I'll tell you a very funny story. I had guests yesterday, last night. They saw my vision board and they asked if they could film it. It's like so big. But let me just share with you one of the key parts of the Block-It Planner that helps really not only move your vision board forward, but what Sarah said is out of sight, out of mind. So we don't want to be out of sight, out of mind. However, if we do not put these things on paper, when we start a week, it will stay out of sight, out of mind. It's not when we start a day. It's when we actually begin our week. And so one of the things that we did in the Block It Planner is you have the brain dump. And the brain dump is where you put all of these things that you see plus more down every week, all the things that are sitting in your mind. That's where you will put them. You'll put them in the brain dump. Now I do a whole session on this. I teach on it. But then what you do is you connect them to the weekly watering, which is also in the planner itself. So you connect, you prioritize what's in the brain dump, what you want to work on this week. You put it in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You just kind of create a framework. It's not set in stone. You are just plugging in the things that you want to work on. So if number one is a high priority, you're going to want to make sure that number one gets in on either the first day or it is a little portion every single day. Now, when you finish that and you go to your daily, all right, your daily dues in the planner, you have your daily dues, all right, you're going to be making sure that we cover all these areas we're talking about. You want to, what you're learning goes here. What you're doing with family and friends goes here. Your self-care goes here. These to-dos, okay, are not the to-dos for your projects or your business. These are personal to-dos that are connected with your vision, your passion, your purpose, but they're yours, okay? And then you have who you need to contact to move that thing forward, who you're waiting to hear from. And then you have your projects and the top 5 things you want to work on. Well, once you've dumped everything out of the brain and then you've prioritized it or put it onto the weekly watering, you actually can go to Monday. So we're starting with Monday, and then you can just start plugging in. All right. And then you connect it, of course, to the Block It. What is this? This is your needle mover. This is the specific task you're going to do. And this is the time you're going to do it. So that's how it works. And that way you actually are putting that that thing that would normally be out of sight, out of mind, you are actually keeping it in front of you. And it's super important.
Yes, and that triggers, it brings up something in my mind about the power of not just getting it on paper, but it's like sometimes when we look at a project and we see this like huge task before us because we're looking at it in a whole, you know, like write a book. But when we start breaking it down, as Hadas had mentioned in the weekly brain dumps, then the watering, then planning out your days, the increments, this is the power of the increments of working on things in small blocks of time. It's the power of taking that project and actually seeing progress. This is why I put this little progress bar here, because you will literally be able to see the progress being made on that project. And you will feel such a sense of accomplishment because something's getting done. It's no longer, you know, just an item on your vision board. So,
you know, I want to make a plug right now. And I want to say this very sincerely. Get with us. We're opening up our community. You're going to see us be talking about that in the beginning of February. And we're going to be opening up our brand new community. We're very, very excited about it. And that's where we're all going to be doing meetups, and we'll be holding lives and trainings, and you're going to be able to gain points and challenges, and then you'll be able to get points and badges and prizes. And oh, we're so excited about it. But we want you to come on this journey with us. You know, get a Block It planner. Come on the journey with us. And I'll tell you, you won't be sorry, because what you see Sarah doing right now, this progress bar, there will come a time this year where we are going to share with you our digital format where when you plug that in, you start working on your projects, you're actually going to be able to see the progress through a bar like this. So we're working on a digital version, an app, and you're going to be able to travel with us into the AI world and really exponentially up your game. So come on with us, join us, and walk with us, because we're going to take you somewhere. All right. So go ahead, Sarah. I just want to put that.
So, yes, thank you so much. I think I know it's a passion of mine, and I am almost positive it's a passion of Hadas's, is to really see our audience growing forward and learning the skills that they need to realize their project, realize their business vision, realize their, whether it's a book, personal goals and vision. It's like such a rewarding experience to be able to share all of our knowledge with our audience. So with that, we're going to jump down here, and we are going to so let's just say we are going to be writing this book. We don't have a book yet. We're going to write the book. And this is what we're going to do for the next 90 days. We're going to work backwards and break that out so that you can see how we might organize that project. So with that, I'm going to put that here, Hadas, and then you can take it from there.
Okay. So Sarah, why don't we use your book that's not complete?
Okay.
If you don't want to do that, we'll use another book. But if you do want to do that, we can do it.
We can use that book or any book. I think the framework remains the same, right?
Framework remains the same. So you need to give us the title of your book, or if it has a title yet, or what the possible title could be. Okay.
So the title is going to have, it's not the final title, obviously, but it's going to be something along the lines of breaking cycles, or something along those lines. Breaking either trauma cycles or breaking cycles, something along those lines.
Okay, very, very good. All right. So, and how many, and by the way, if you want to get into one of our coaching programs, you're about to hear the kind of the process that we will take you through in writing a book, and the questions that we have actually an assessment that you receive to get started with this. So the first thing now I need to know from Sarah is how many chapters have you already written?
Well, I'd have to look back to make sure, or to be exact, but around 6 chapters.
Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to ask you is, have you just written those, or did you actually set up a format with your headings, your subtitles, your body font, your footnotes, all of that? Did you already set up your framework so that every time you turn into a new chapter, it automatically develops the layout for you?
No, it is a rough Word document that I just kept writing, like chapter 1, chapter 2. So it doesn't have a template or anything.
Okay. So the first thing that you want to do whenever you're going to write a book, you know what? I got to say, so if you don't mind, I really apologize, but I want to go actually a couple steps back.
Okay.
Because we're starting with Sarah, so we're going to come back to Sarah, but I want to go back to those of you right now that will watch this. And if you're not watching now, you will when you are watching this and we start talking about the subject of writing a book, you will be the person that says, I want to write a book. You'll be the person that says, I need to write a book. Or you will be the person that says, I started a book 5 years ago, but I haven't finished it yet. Okay, you're going to be one of those if it resonates with you. Your book today is your business card. Your book today is what builds an influence platform. If you get my course, the 4 quarters of influence, that's where we ask the question, where do you start? Now, you don't always have to start with a book. You actually can start with a YouTube channel, a podcast. You can create a course. You don't have to start with a book. But I do want you to know that your book is what becomes your business card. It's what establishes you as an expert in the entrepreneurial world. So, with that said, when you say to yourself, I want to write a book, you say to yourself, I started a book, but I never finished. Okay. This is the kind of project you want to get in the Block-It Planner. And this is the project that you want to say, okay, what do I need to do to actually write a book? So in the Block-It Planner, first of all, we actually have a section in the back for all 4 of the quarters of influence. And this is the write a book section. Now, let's say you establish that you are going to write the book. What needs to take place next? Now, if you're not an outline person, okay, then what I suggest you do first and foremost. So Sarah's already written several chapters, but we've got a blank slate right now. You're going to sit down, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a brain dump. You're going to take a brain dump on all of the things that you want to put in the book, all the ideas, all the thoughts. You might have an idea for that, but you want to start and you want to take a category, and that category is your book. And if you're a good outline person, you can actually think in categories, blocks of categories, and then put little ideas underneath each one. So for, let's just say, okay, you want to write a book on health. And you want to write your experience. So, you start out with your story. So that's going to be the beginning. You want to draw your audience in, and you want to talk about your story, the problems you've had in your health and how you rectified those problems. So you want to start with the problem, and then you want to talk about the solution. You want to tell your story in the beginning. So you would put down my story, and then you would put down my experience and the things I learned, and you would write those ideas down, okay? You just start putting them in. And then, so let's say that would be your first chapter, your introduction, your first chapter. And then you want to talk about, okay, how you changed your eating habits. What's the value of eating a lot of greens? So eating habits, what kind of habits did you change? All right, let's say you went from a late night eater and now you stop eating around 6. How did you tell them? You want to tell them now under eating habits, the value of changing your eating habits. You want to tell them what the habits, the old habits, the new habits, and the why. So you want to start sharing those details. You want to start asking yourself questions and answering your questions. And that is, why did I feel I have to change my eating habits, and how have I changed them? And why did I stop eating late at night? Why am I now eating earlier? How have I felt since I made this change? But you want to start thinking about those, just ideas. That's all we're putting in here is ideas. Okay, so you got your story, the introduction, that which grabs the people. Now you're going to start talking about the changes that you've made in your life. And first is eating habits. talk about the fact that you hated salads and now you love salads. What changed? What changed and why? All right. How you got off sugar, why you don't need sugar anymore. Lots of things. Now then, let's say you realized in this journey that there are supplements out there. There is a regimen, okay, that really changed your life. There was 1, 2, 3 products, and the whole idea of supplements. Let's say you went to a functional doctor, an integrative doctor. That's a doctor that's an MD, plus he's a nutritional specialist. Let's say you go to a functional doctor, he does your makeup and he says, oh, you are really low. Actually, I did this. And, the doctor actually handed me like $200 worth of supplements. I paid for them, of course. And he said, this is what you need. Because once you do the workup, you see where you're deficient, what you need to do. And so you started doing that. Now you want to share that experience and you want to get into the details of that. You want to share what supplements worked. What are you still taking? What are the results of that? And the why. Okay, so then the next thing you start to do in your life is you add exercise. So let's say you were a runner. Even before, you had your health problems, and now those health problems have been resolved. You're telling the story, but you're breaking it down incrementally. And now here we have exercise. Okay, so let's say you're a runner, but you never did any strength training. And now you're getting a little older and you're going to implement some cardio, but now you're also going to implement a strength training program. And by doing that, you have seen a total transformation in not only your body, but in your mind, the clarity of your mind. You also can, see how much stronger you are today than you were before. And I could go on and on about this area because as you get older, strength training becomes key. And so the point being, though, that's what you want to share with your audience. You want to go down through those ideas. Whatever the story is, you want to start with your experience. If you're writing on behalf of somebody else, you're sharing a true story. You want to start with their experience. And then you want to start breaking down the experience into increments and sharing those in detail. That's for a nonfiction book. Fiction book's a little bit different. But the point being is you want to get these ideas on paper. Now, a lot of people can't do outlines. So we first suggest that you create some categories and then just dump ideas in there, or you forget the categories and just put all the ideas, the things you want to put in that book, and then create the categories. Sometimes that's easiest for you, but you got to get those ideas on paper. That's the first thing you have to do if you want to write a book. Until you do that, that book just stays in your mind. Now that you've got the ideas on paper, now the next thing you need to do is you need to choose your writing software. You don't need to go, and in fact, I highly do not recommend in the beginning, I do not recommend you go searching for the best software to write a book. And I'll tell you why. Because it's daunting and it's a learning curve and it will dissuade you from writing. So you don't want to do that. You want to get writing. So choose your platform, your writing software. I always use Pages. Some people use Microsoft. There's also many things from Scrivener, and a lot. There's a lot out there. I couldn't list them, but they're all in the Bucket Planner. Everything's listed out for you. So I then choose my writing platform, and I recommend to do exactly what Sarah did and what I have done, and that is you just start writing. Now, formatting a book in the beginning, just the basics of a book, is very, very important. But I also don't recommend necessarily that you format it before you start writing something. I don't think you should get too far into the book before you start formatting. But I always say that when you feel motivated to do something, you need to do it. And then you need to go back and do the technical things. Once you get past that first book, you're on your second book, your third book, your fourth book, then you're going to be formatting right from the beginning. But formatting is also, it's a learning curve. It's simple. And, we teach people how to format. I have one of our students right now, that was a whole class last week, is just on how to format. And she's already written, I think, 5 or 6 books, and she's never formatted ahead of time. And she said to me, it's horrible. I get done and then I have to format this book and it is a nightmare. And I said, exactly, it is a nightmare. However, you have to start writing. So first start writing, and then when you're getting to the second or third chapter, don't finish the whole book before you learn how to format, but get a chapter done. Because if you don't, and you start getting off into the little technical details of writing a book, you may never, ever write the book. I have a joke. It's a joke. I've written quite a few books, and the thing is, you see all these softwares here, Scrivener, well, Notion I always use for writing. I never use Microsoft Word anymore, but I have. All right, Scrivener, I tell you, I bought it, never used it. That Bipsco is new. And some of the other ones, I actually probably have almost all of them on my computer, and I go right back to Pages because I like things to be simple. So we create, I actually created a whole format for when I'm writing a book. I just pull up that template and I go at it. Okay, so that's that. When you have to get a chapter, get your ideas down, get started. That's the most important thing. Get it on the block and planner, get started. Now, notice that it says here, write chapters with endnotes unless you prefer footnotes. Now, if you're writing a nonfiction book, you're writing your story, you're not going to need usually footnotes or endnotes. If you're writing something that you're researching and you're adding details that you researched, or you're taking details or comments from articles or other books, you have to record footnotes. So even if you create footnotes, you can always, usually in the software, you can turn those all into endnotes.
Does it matter the different formats, the MLA versus I don't know the other one, but does it matter like which format you choose?
No, it doesn't, but unless you're going to do academic writing.
Okay.
If you're going to do academic writing, you need to know what the university and what type of format they're looking for to publish. So, what you need to find out what they want. But if you're writing, to publish a book, the answer is no. Now, I also recommend, I don't think we have it down here, but I highly recommend that you download and put Grammarly.
Grammarly.
Onto your, we need to add that, Grammarly onto your computer. And I would recommend that you actually get the paid version. You can start with the free version if you want, but the paid version will correct your grammar. The free version corrects your mistakes, your spelling mistakes, all right? And basic grammar mistakes like commas and things like this. but the paid version actually will rewrite your sentences for you, and it'll tell you how to rewrite it for clarity. I highly recommend that you get Grammarly. And that is a lifesaver for anyone that's writing content or writing a book. You're going to pay an editor to edit this book. You're going to want to pay an editor. If you think you can get away with paying an editor without paying an editor, all right, even just from using Grammarly, then you're mistaken. You've got to get an editor, because Grammarly will catch a lot of things. In fact, most things. But that doesn't mean that you don't need a second set of eyes. That Grammarly doesn't know the content of your book. And so even if you're using Grammarly, you still have to read through what they think they should be changing, because they don't know the content of your book. You know it.
Right.
Whether you want to say this or that. So you always have to double check that. But you really want an editor. If your book goes out there with a lot of mistakes, you will not make the New York bestseller, and you will not make the Amazon bestseller. You will not make any bestseller, because the minute people see mistakes, one mistake here, one mistake there, okay. But a lot of first-time writers, there's a lot of mistakes. It wasn't edited properly. And that diminishes your readership immediately. So you want to always make sure it's a very, very, my books are usually edited 2 to 3 times before they ever go out. So that is even using Grammarly. All right, next.
Okay, so with that said, on like kind of tying into the 90 days, okay, what we've gone over in this checklist, I think we have enough that we can populate 90 days. Do you think? Because I don't know if we would even get done with the book in 90 days. What do you think?
Well, it depends on what kind of book you're writing and how much time you're spending on it.
Okay.
Most books, by the way, if they are 200 or more pages, all right, most books will take six months to a year to write, if there's research involved, especially. I wrote one of my big books. I wrote that from November, and I released it in January. I started writing it, I think, in November. So I wrote that book in 3 months, but I spent usually 5 or 6 hours a day, every day, researching and writing for almost 3 months. So, so yeah, I did put out a book. And another thing, you know, I'm sure that in our audience, we have a lot of people that may give seminars or teach. And if you record your teaching, you can actually transcribe it and turn all of that into a book. And you just have to go back and edit that. So there's
that was something I was going to ask you. I'm sure there are some authors that they prefer to audibly speak their book into existence, if that makes sense, right? They will record their chapters and then have someone transcribe, or we're in the digital age of AI that they can just upload it and have some service transcribe it pretty much automatically. So what are your thoughts about that? Speaking it and having it transcribed, and that's how it's written, or literally either writing it or typing it out?
I think it's preference. I absolutely think you can speak the whole thing, and and today it'll be transcribed, and then you just edit it from there.
Okay.
However, something very, very interesting about that process, and I know this, of course, from experience, I will tell you that there are definitely 2 different kinds of people: a visionary, a visual person, auditory person. And I will say that if you're a person that easily writes content, writing comes easy to you. Even though you've never written a book before, writing comes easy to you. All right. You will do much better writing than speaking your book. Because what happens to someone who records the book and then gets it transcribed, when you read back the transcription, there's a lot of changes you have to make because you will speak differently than you will write. They are not the same. You don't speak the same way you write. And people think, oh, really? No, I do not speak the same way I write. When I write with a lot of detail. I rarely speak that way. It's a very interesting thing. So you really have to know yourself when it comes to that. And remember, your book itself, whether you start out writing it or you started out with audio, your book will be audio at some point, because audiobooks are actually more popular in many ways than the printed book, because people like to listen to books while they're driving to the office, while they're, doing their kitchen stuff and creating their meals. They like to listen to books. So you are going to be putting your book in a print form, an ebook form, and an audio form.
Okay.
All right.
So let's just say, yes, go ahead.
So just a couple more further, because I want to share something else now. Because there's something simultaneous. We're talking about writing the book right now. All right. And there's other ideas here about write the introduction, and you can do all this at the end. Okay. But I want to stop right now. This is how you get started writing. But I want to talk about the next phase of it. And in this phase, what we have here is like the phases of, when you finish writing the book, you brand the book, you self-publish. Keep going down a little bit, Sarah. But I want to come down to the marketing plan. And the marketing plan of a book actually has to be at the place where it has to be in your mind when you're writing the book. When you're writing the book, you have an opportunity. In fact, you have an unprecedented opportunity to use the content that you are creating while you're writing the book to build your email list. And as an author, you may think, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to get a deal with an agent, I'm going to sell 1 million copies, and I am going to go drink pina coladas on the beach and I'm done. Well, first of all, today, an agent will not even look at you if you don't have 10,000 people on your email list. So the chance of you getting an agent is slim to none unless you have a huge email list, a large podcast following, a large YouTube channel following, or any other social media. You have to have over 10,000 people following you for an agent to even look at you. So with that said, I don't want to discourage you from writing a book, because number one, you can build your email list along the way, but number two, you can self-publish and probably sell more books than an agent can sell for you. However, there is a plan to do that. And one of the first things is that when you start to write a book, after you get those first couple of chapters in there, and let me preface this by saying, if all of a sudden you feel, I've got to do this, I have to write this book now. And you wake up in the morning and you're like, I got to write. And you write all day, all night. And you wake up the next day, I got to write all day, all night. You wake up the next day and you write all day, all night. And let's say you finish your book like in 2 weeks, okay? The next thing is then, of course, you're going to have to get it edited. That's an exception to the rule. What I'm sharing with you is an exception to the rule. But I wanted to preface that because I wanted to say, when you feel that strongly about something and you're getting these downloads and you got to get them on paper and you got to write it, I want to encourage you, do it, do it, do it. Don't worry about these other little details. However, along the way, when you are starting to write, you also want to start building your email list. Now, there are email lists that you can do, like MailChimp. All right, we have a very elaborate platform for what we do, but you want to some way get a following. You want to send out, to friends and family. You want to ask them, follow me as I write my book. Join my email list. And I will be sending you snippets of the content that I'm writing, every week or every other week. I'm going to be sharing with you my story about writing, but get people to follow you, get people on your email list, get people, take a shot, of a title of your chapter and put it on Instagram, put it on social media, get people following you as you write your book. This is as important as writing the book. You get people following you. Because when you go to launch that book, you have to have somebody to sell it to. It's a shocker that
Yes.
You need an audience. It's a shocker. But this is very, very important. Okay.
And I wanted to add something there as well. Now, this won't pertain to every type of book, okay? But as you were talking about the marketing plan, I also thought about marketing strategy as your book and your brand, like where you're seeing this overall book go. Now, I have an example because it is masterfully done, okay? And the book is called Building a Story Brand, okay?
Yeah.
And throughout this whole book, now they had to be very intentional about how this book was written, because throughout this whole book, and they're giving you this framework, they're directing you back to the website to download the free templates, and they're walking you through this process. So it's not just the book. The book was a gateway to the rest of their offerings. So it was masterfully done, I think, as far as dovetailing it into their business. But it had to be so super intentional in how it was written. So I think that's another key factor to keep in mind while you're writing it. Like I said, it wouldn't be for every type of book, but for like branding and things like that, if you're building a larger company off of it, then you definitely have to think about that.
What you just said, we did that. I want to tell you that we did the same thing with the Block It Planner. Very
Correct.
Intentional. We have pages in here. They give you access to the signature video course. They give you access to the ebook, the 4 Quarters of Influence, which includes a mini course. All right, and they give you access to our page of free downloads and courses. Everything like this has to be intentional. And when you're writing a book, so, we're specifically dealing with the visionary, the creator, the entrepreneur. So let's just say you want to start a business, you have an idea, you've had an experience, something you want to share. You do want to think about exactly how this book is going to be used, as Sarah said. However, with all that said, I do want to encourage you. Most people never, ever write their book. They say they want to, and the statistics are somewhere in the 90th percentile of most people that say they want to write a book or they need to write a book, never write a book. So the first thing is you got to start writing. That's the first thing. And then when you're writing it, because you're building your brand or your business, as Sarah said, you want to be intentional. So these two things have to go hand in hand. And Sarah, I'm not sure what time it is.
Yes, we're coming up on the hour. So I'm wondering if we can just quickly say, okay, kind of map out a very loose plan for 90 days of writing this book, based on what we've gone over today. So,
Okay. Okay. So let's just say in the first, okay, in the first 30 days, if you want to write a book, I highly recommend you begin. Week one is you want to get all your ideas on paper. Now, I always tell people that when they have an idea for their book, they need to write it down somewhere. Write it down on a sticky note, throw it into a shoebox, write it down on a napkin, throw it into a shoebox. Just have one shoebox for all the notes, or write it down on your phone and keep it in one specific area. So I always recommend that you do that. And then I recommend also that for the first 30 days, your first week, you're going to brain dump. But I highly recommend that you block 1 to 2 50-minute segments every single day to work on your book every day. That's the first 30 days. So you need to write something every day. You need to, and the reason for that is, even if it's just 1 50-minute segment, whether you're tired, whether you're not tired, it's like going to the gym. You've got to exercise your brain into writing. Writing is an exercise. The more you do it, the more ideas will flow, the better writing you will produce. Now, the other thing you should do during the first 30 days, all right, is you should, well, let me share this in a little bit. You really, really need to learn, all right, a lot about, you need to learn a lot about writing a book and branding a book and publishing a book. So you want to learn as much as you can about writing a book. Now, we're going to share with you in just a minute our own coaching programs, but you need to learn. You have to research, you have to study, because there's a lot that goes into this. It is, if you're going to write a book, remember, this is your business card. This is your future. This is what gets you speaking engagements. This is what gets you known. And so this is a big deal. So I know people that use, they might use AI, or they might, just copy other people's books and just put them up there to sell. That's not what we're doing here. We're actually putting you out into the universe here. Number two, month number two. Month number two is where you start taking the content that you are building and little snippets of it, and you start building an audience. Month number two, you're going to keep writing. You're going to do your 50 minutes, and your 50 minutes to 1, 2, up to 4, 4 hours a day. Now, let me say something too about writing a book. Again, it all depends on what you're doing. If you're telling a story, or if you're sharing an experience, or if you're sharing knowledge. And so your book or your knowledge may require a lot of research, and you may have hundreds of hours of research. So remember, that's what takes even good novelists like Daniel Silva or Dan Brown. The reason it takes them a year to write a book is because they spend hours, hundreds of hours researching to be able to build out the story in the most accurate way. So remember, if you're feeling like, oh, I'm not making too much progress, but you have a lot of research, you want to do that. I also have a tip that I share on how to research and write. So now we get into the second month, and you're still working on your segments every day to write a book, but you're adding another segment into the day, and that is building your email list, building your social media, building what I call your influence platform. And believe it or not, here's how you start. It's the simplest thing. This is what you do. You make a little post and you put it out there with a link to your email list. It doesn't have to be an elaborate newsletter. It can just be a little post. It can be a little email. It doesn't even have to have lots of pictures and be real pretty. It doesn't. This is all you're going to say is, hi, I'm writing a new book. I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm actually writing a book. And I want to share my experience with you. Will you follow me so I can share what I'm writing with you? And that's it. That's what you put out there. One simple request. And you send it out. You put it on a post and you get people to start following you. And then once a week, you send them a paragraph and ask for their feedback. Ask them to tell you what they think. I sent Sarah something yesterday. We're working on a project for another author. And I asked her, I sent her 2 versions of an introduction. I said, I want to know what you think. I'm sending that out there. And that's what you do with your audience. Now you're getting an audience, you're building and getting an audience engaged. And I promise you, that entire audience, when you finish writing the book, all of them will buy it. All of them are going to buy it. So if you can gain 100 followers, 1,000 followers, 10,000 followers along the way, they're all going to buy your book when it's actually finished, as long as they're following you. Now, that's month number 2. You're going to start that. Now, month number 3, all right, what we've done is we've started building our list, okay, email list, and we have started, we're continuing to work on the actual book. Now, month number 3, you're going to want to do something even more now, all right? And what I recommend, let's just say we're still writing the book. Now, if you're done with the book, you're still going to do exactly what I say. But now you're going to sign up with Amazon, with KDP. You want to get your book, a pre-launch of your book started on Amazon. You want to create an author's page. You want to have a title for your book by the 3rd month. You want a title. And then you want to have that title connected to keywords in Amazon. So even though your book isn't finished, you actually have the title out there. And Amazon says, it actually says when you're filling all the thing is this a pre-sale? A pre-sale. And so you mark pre-sale. And they actually put it up as a pre-sale. And now your book is out there. People can actually order the pre-sale version. You don't have to promote that yet, but you want to start preparing that and getting that in the system in Amazon. And so you want to create that author's page. You want to make sure you've got a title and then keywords. So those are the 3 things. And then you want to keep building your email list. So what are you going to add? she's changing her title up there. What are you going to add, okay, to what you're building? Now notice how we're doing this very incrementally. First, you focus on the book. And then we get into by now, by the way, we should be getting you into the formatting. So while you're writing, it's doing its own formatting. It's very easy to do, but you should be there. But that's a technical thing. Number 2, now we're adding an email list. Number 3, now we're adding the platform, the author page, your title. We're getting the pre-sale of your book out there so people get used to seeing what we have a cover, and that's a good thing. You want to get your cover in right now. This is month number 3. You want to really build out that cover that you want to be using for the book. You have a good idea by now what the book's about, and so get the cover designed. And then the last thing that I would recommend that you do And that is you create a landing page, a page that will lay out what your book is all about when you're going to sell that. So you can do that in month number 3. You want to build your following month number 2, but you want to build a platform where you become visible. Now, you may not be ready for a landing page in month, that might be month number 4, but you are going to create that author's page, that title, get your cover designed, and those keywords. You want to get that in the 3rd month. And by the way, when you get the cover designed, let me just say one more thing. When you get the cover designed, send it to your audience, because you'll usually get 2 or 3, examples of the cover. Send it out to the people following you and ask them to vote on it and tell them which one they like. All right. Shockingly, in my last book, we had several covers, and I sent them out to, I don't know, about 20 or 30 people. I sent the book out, or the cover out, and 100% of them came back with the cover that I didn't expect they would come back with. I thought it would be the other cover, but they all came back with the same cover. And I said, we're going with that cover because that's what the people like. It's not what I like, folks. This is what your audience likes. So that's another very, very important aspect of building an audience while you write the book, because they are going to be your best critique. And if they critique it ahead of time, your book is going to have that much more of a chance to reach a best-selling book. All right, so those are 3 months, how I would divide 3 months up into writing a book and getting yourself started in getting that book out into the universe. Now, Sarah, can you pull up our coaching program for Write Your Book, and the page that we talk about that, publish and write your book?
Yes. Can you still see my screen with the?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see it really great. Okay. So when you come in here, I think do you have the course and download page? Oh, here it is. Okay. Here we are. Okay, there it is. So can you scroll down? What do we have here? All right. So here we have 2 coaching programs. One's called Write Forward and one's called Publish Forward. And so we take you step by step, and it's 10 weeks long. It's a coaching program, and we take you through that coaching program. The courses are not available, by the way. So it's only the coaching program now. We're not doing group courses anymore. So the coaching program is available, but we also have a program that does all of that for you. We actually help you, we brand you, and we help build your entire social media and email following for you. So we have that available. So if that's something you're interested in, send us a message and we can help you get started now, either in the coaching program or in our own full service. We have a full service company that helps people market and brand their book. All right.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Hadas, for helping us break apart the first 3 months of writing a book and giving us all of the background information that we're going to need to know to set up ahead of time in order to move this forward. So if this was a 9-month project, after 3 months, you'd be about here, which is pretty awesome to see some progress. And then, yeah, so next week, I'm not entirely sure what we have on the docket, but it's going to be in line with this. And we hope that you will join us again next week on Thursday at 12 Central Standard Time. We were a little bit late today, but generally we go live at 12 on Thursdays. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, not at all. I think that should do it. I just want to encourage you, if you have an inkling to write a book, write a book. I'll tell you, I have 2 books that'll come out this year. Both of them, one is almost fully written, ready to go, but I can't release it yet. I have to get it approved. And then the second one, or the first one, actually, it's the first one that'll come out. It's based on a seminar, a 2-hour seminar that I gave. And it's already been transcribed, and now I'm turning that seminar into a book. And so those books, I follow exactly what I share with you is what I do for myself. And the key always is just get started. You will never get anything going if it just remains a thought in your mind. Get it on paper, and then start blocking your time and start moving it forward. And so I recommend that to Sarah too, to start, working back on her book. And it doesn't take a lot of time. Just some time.
And just a funny story to wrap up, and tie it in with some of, I think maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, we were talking about self-sabotage. And we're going to have some social media posts coming up about that, revisiting the self-sabotage series. But I found myself, I had a project to work on, and then I would be like, but I have to do this too. Oh, let me just do this, because this is important too. But it wasn't as important as my, main project. So I'm so thankful that I was mindful and been like, oh, that's self-sabotage.
It is so true. It is so true. Yeah, that's good. So there's a lot to writing a book, especially today, because you have to integrate that with marketing. So it doesn't matter. You can't even get an agent until your book is integrated with the entire influence platform. So today, it's not just a matter of writing a book, sending out queries to get an agent, and then hoping you get a bestseller. Today, you are a very, very important and active part in every process of the promotion of your book. So if you already have written a book, we have a full service and a coaching program called Publish Forward. And Publish Forward is where we actually get you out into the universe. So you sell lots of copies of books. And so we help you do that. So make sure you contact us if you want to get your book out into the universe too. We're kind of like an agent. And just a little bit different, but we're kind of like that. All right. Okay. Anything else you want to add, Sarah?
That's it. Thank you so much. And we are looking forward to you joining us next week.
Very much so. Very much so. Okay. All right. In
All right.
Audience land.
Take care.